Thanks to the support as a channel member, Ole Gunnar Kvam. Well, part 1 happened back in January. This is part 2 of the great Coventry rebuild. We've got a £6 million budget. I reckon we'll spend about 20 million by the time we've sold everybody who wants out. Hello and welcome to Club 2, Part 5 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, it is our season review and transfer special at the end of our first season with Coventry. It wasn't a full season, but it was a successful season nonetheless. We, of course, finished just outside the playoffs with a remit to avoid relegation. So that's a good thing. Signing of the season went to Enoch Agye, which is absolutely fair enough. Came in, £5.5 million, 11 starts, 11 goal contributions, an average rating of 7.2. More signings like that, please. It says there we were supposed to finish mid-table. I think when we actually originally arrived, or at the interview, it was supposed to be avoid relegation. It was then changed to finish mid-table. Either way, we finished 8th. So the board are very happy with a top half finish. And we ended up just 2 points outside of the playoffs. A result going our way when it didn't just once. And we'd be losing in the playoffs now. So it's probably for the best that that's not how it turned out. Financially, surprisingly not great on a lot of these results, which, considering it's one of the best seasons the club has had for years, a 5th round FA Cup run, not really sure. I mean, where did all that prize money come from last year? That's mad. Did they like win the League Cup or something? Sponsorship's gone up a little bit though, and Johnson sells more shirts than anybody. And then it's Okereke, and that's awkward. And our them three are probably all going to leave this summer if I have my way. This was our team of the year. Travers in goal, a back four of Scales, Elaine, Kitching and Bree, Eccles, Rodoni and Keating in midfield, Mason, Clark, Johnson and Okereke up front. And these are the end of season awards. Efron Mason Clark is Fans Player of the Year. Young Player of the Year, of course, was going to be none other than Joey Keating. We already know Agye is signing of the season. Okereke finished top scorer with 16. Keating, most assists with 11. Travers, most man of the matches with 5 from in goal is interesting. And Efron Mason Clark, highest average rating on a 7.2. We also set club records for goals in a season and assists in a season, which shows just how pathetic this team were before I arrived. That's your all-time best 11. Doesn't mean a lot to us because, of course, we've been here less than a year. I know what you're all asking. Did Brackley get promoted? I haven't even looked. Oh, wow. Okay. They ended up winning the league. So they did turn it around in the end, because when I first left, that happened. But yeah, they turned it around. Fair play. Kev gets a promotion this season after all. Bradley Ayombian finishes top average rating in the division. Despite being put on the transfer list and surplus to requirements, they barely used him after I left. Certainly from the start, they barely used him. But they did still win the league. So Brackley are going to be in League One next year, presumably still throwing the cash around. I'm a little bit upset I'm only favoured personnel, but they move into the new stadium this summer as well. So if they get promoted again, they'll have caught me up and then I'll look like a silly Wally. So we definitely need to get promoted next season, just to make sure we stay ahead of Brackley. Don't worry about that. That should be fixed, I hope. The important thing is they've given me that. So we've got £6 million to spend. Quite a few players that we're going to look to move on. It's time for a wheeler dealing summer as we look to put together a team that can get promoted next season. And remember as well, we've already got quite a few players coming in, some youngsters, a couple of first teamers. So we've already made a little bit of a head start with the money we had left over last season as well. So I'll get on with working out who I'm going to sell, sorting out some contract renewals. There you go. There's some, is that money coming in? No, we've got some money coming in there. We can do worldwide scouting. And the chairman's given us a £15 million cash injection. That's nice. I appreciate that. Have we got a tycoon here as well? No. They're just lovely and generous. Worryingly, rumours of a potential board takeover, so that might be their final gift before they leave. But even if it is, it's a jolly nice gift. And imagine if we got another tycoon. Wouldn't that be a thing? Right. I have admin to attend to before we start signing players. Well, our new signings are in. So first off, we have the proper first teamers that we arranged with the last dregs of our transfer budget last year. So first up is Tim Irogbenam, who is a defensive midfielder, comes in from Everton, and we'll immediately get him training to play as an actual defensive midfielder. Although we might actually end up using him in that Mazzala role, but let's get him learning to play that role. And then we've also got Samuel Illing, who's a left winger who can also play on the right-hand side. As a left footer, we kind of want him on the right-hand side because we like to have them cutting in. So let's get him training to play over there as an inverted winger. And then we've got some Premier League youngsters. So Sean Wheeler is still actually showing us 5-star potential, which is pretty unusual for someone you can bring in at this level. Potential Premier League left back coming in from Arsenal. That's jolly nice to see. We've also got Abu Bakr Gilmore, who that's a bit more like what you expect as a championship club, but potentially championship quality in the future. Another Arsenal youngster, centre-back and left-back. Conrad Neesham is a left midfielder / left-back. England under-19 international. He comes in from Newcastle. Then Ryan Griffiths is another left-winger. He's in from Manchester United. Lots of left-footers. This is all we sign at Coventry is left-footers. Stephen Wood's probably a left-back. Of course he is. Left-back / right-winger. Why wouldn't he be? Learn to play right back, you absolute wally. Goodness me. There you go. You're going to learn to play right back because it's silly that you can't. But another England under-19 international. So that looks like a good batch of youngsters plus a couple of decent first team options. Let's just give them all the traditional little pat on the head. Why we can't just have one button here that has one guy. In fact, it's Mason Clark welcoming everybody. So why it can't just be welcome all 7 of them? Why I have to do this individually? Absolute madness. But there you go. They've all been welcomed in. Looks like my director of football is making an offer for somebody I don't really want. So let's withdraw that transfer. Hull have made an offer for Kitching, which he'd lost his place towards the end of last season. We've already got Gozzi and Marisic, who are both left-footers and younger than him. Let's try and squeeze some extra money out here. If we can get like 10 million up front, I think we are happy with that. Probably 10.5. Let's go to the bottom range of that up front, and then they can do their little add-ons. I mean, we're going to take that. We're failing FFP at the moment. Ow. We're not going to worry about that. I don't pay too much attention to that. But yeah, Kitching on his way out. We still have 100% retained transfer revenue. I do kind of want him to go now. So let's get him on the transfer list. Let him know he's done. Not the loan list, the transfer list. And offer him out. 13 million potentially coming in. There you go. So he can get gone. And let's just make sure he wants to go by knocking his playing time down to surplus to requirements. That isn't actually what I was going to show you next. I was going to come into the squad planner and work out what we needed. We've got Salvi and Travers in goal, so we probably don't need another keeper. Maybe we need a left back. We sold several. Now maybe we need one, especially if Kitchen goes. It depends how good Eleftheriadis is going to be. He's not got that 5-star potential. We have just brought that youngster in, haven't we? Stephen Woods, is that him? Yeah, so maybe we hold for... Oh no, Sean Wheeler is the one, isn't he? He's the one who's just come in. We've got several good young left backs. So maybe we're okay with Scales for another year, but we'll keep an eye on what's available. At right back, we've got Bree and Kessler Hayden, which I think is fine. Centre back, if Kitchen goes, we've got Gozzi, Elaine. Scales can cover there. Marusic can play there. We'd probably need another centre back in then. Eccles and Irogbenum at the base of the midfield. El Arouche wants to leave. So if we offer him out... we might have to wait for transfer windows to open. We would quite like to get as close to that 21 million as possible. We also want rid of Leonard if anybody wants him. That would be, I mean, come on. Yes, go on then. I'll take £8 million for a guy we're not planning on using. Should we try the same thing with him? No, won't work with him. We'll keep an eye on that situation. I mean, I'm not against keeping him if he decides he wants to stay. He's certainly a useful player for us. But assuming both of them go, we're going to need more midfielders. But then on the left, we've got Illing and Mason Clark. On the right, we've got Aguier and Johnson. Radoni's obviously in midfield. Bonner, I think we have to start considering as a striker because he was just becoming quite the goal scorer at the end of last season, which means we've got Scarlett and Bonner as our strikers. Okereke at 31. I think we try and cash in while we still can. There you go, 5.8 million. we definitely take that for him. And then see where we are and how much we've got to spend after all that is done. This works for me. Well, this is a nice little assortment of outgoing transfers. Liam Kitching is going to Villarreal for £13 million. Okereke is going to Real Zaragoza for 5.75. And we also sold Mark Leonard to Watford for 7.75, which means before we bring anyone else in, remembering we've already signed Illing and the other guy, Irogbenum, we've got £32 million to spend. Yes, we're still officially failing FFP. I don't even know how. But I don't care. Because I'm going to spend that, get us promoted to the Premier League, and then this won't matter. What's even the punishment of failing that? If neither promoted nor relegated, a transfer embargo will be imposed. So if we get promoted, no punishment. If we don't get to spend 32 million again next summer. Oh, boo-hoo. I'm going to have some fun now. So we've now hit the 1st of July. So a few of the other players that we wanted rid of have left on free transfers. Colwill, Yearn, Camera, which means we are now sat here with our £30+ million budget, plus some spare wage budget. Obviously, we're going to stick a big chunk of that into wage budget and see what we can do with free transfers before we do anything else. There's not a huge amount we need. It's already a very strong squad. We've not really lost any of the actual starters other than Kitching, and we'd kind of replaced him. So see what we can find on the free transfers, I guess. We need to make this a good summer because some good teams have been relegated from the Premier League. Well, we had a load of good players in on trial. We were able to offer them all nice big signing on fees, the contracts they wanted, and only CJ Egan-Riley signed for me, and he was very much like a reserve option. So that was disappointing. I mean, we had like a long list of very good footballers that we were going to try and bring in that have ultimately gone to other clubs for less money than we were going to pay them. It's quite frustrating. I guess we're going to have... Why are Millwall getting everyone that I wanted? What's so attractive about Millwall? I guess we're actually going to have to pay for players, which is hideous. Or everyone we're trying to sign is refusing to sign for us. I think we've hit that awkward stage that you always hit in a save like this, where we've got loads of money and quite a good squad. The players that will improve us don't want to sign for us, even if we throw loads of money at us. The players who we can sign aren't good enough to improve us. We've sold 2 more players for loads of money. Dennis Johnson's gone to Modena for £11 million. So the club have made a profit on that guy who should never have been signed last summer. And El Arouche, who I signed for free when I first arrived, we've sold for £10.5 million to Sampdoria because he wanted to go back to France, which I guess is where Sampdoria is. We've spent on a youngster. Fraser Donnelly is a 19-year-old England under-20 international right back, can also play left back. So we've managed to find one more good player. The squad itself still seems fine. There's not like a glaring weakness in the squad. Oh, there's another example of a player who I tried to sign and didn't sign for me. Let's just take these guys off of the... Oh, there's another one. Let's take these guys off of the shortlist just to get them out of the way. Borges can come off the shortlist as well. Hopefully one of these two will come in, maybe both. Wouldn't that be nice? But yeah, the squad is fine, but it is getting a little small. If we get rid of all of the youngsters, I mean, we have got a lot of youngsters here. So it's not the end of the world if we have to use some of these. But at the moment, our first team squad is 20 players, and one of them is on the way out because we're trying to sell him as well. So we probably need 4 or 5 signings, and we just are struggling to find them, despite having £37 million to spend. The season starts in a week. I've not had a summer like this in a while. But we've managed one more in, one more out. Seb van Ottel has left. He's gone to Leganés for 1.3 million. And we did manage to bring in a Spanish youngster, Sergio Aguirrezabala, who is 20 years old, Spanish under-19 international, defensive midfielder, can also play right wing back. Obviously, we're not going to play him right wing back, but he can play in midfield as well. 3 stars of current ability, 4 stars of potential. He comes in from Ibar and has a good chance of becoming our starting defensive midfielder for the season. But that brings us through to the first day of the season, 29th of July, first day of the season. We still have £35 million to spend. I mean, the team itself looks pretty good when you look at the new boys that we've brought in. Obviously, we've got new boy Donnelly at the back. You've got Illing, who's come in midfield. You've got Aguier still in there from last season. We can't fill the bench. That shows how light we are on players. So we still need a good 4 or 5 signings, but we've got more than a month until the window closes. So I guess we'll just keep going and hopefully get the money spent. But it's going to be an interesting start to the season because it's very rare. I mean, we've got a lot of youngsters, I guess. We could fill the bench with some kids. So let's move them all up, I guess. Get them all up into the first team squad. And then we might even have a star who emerges from them. Who knows? And in the meantime, I'll keep trying to spend the money. We'll carry on tomorrow. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.